Good morning and welcome to Connecting the Dots Sports with Chris Buchignani. And Chris, what a weekend it was this past weekend.
Yeah, overall awesome. Just to have a big event, bring a lot of people to Happy Valley, the Women's Frozen Four at Pagula Ice Arena. Incredible crowd on Friday night. Great atmosphere inside the ice arena. Record setting for women's hockey.
And Chris, I think we should attribute that record-setting crowd to you and your enthusiasm, evangelism for people to get off their digital screens and out and about. Pinch me, we live in Happy Valley. And then Saturday, another record-setting crowd.
Yeah, Panzer Stadium, the men's lacrosse team. That's a great young team that I'm excited to see people coming out to support in record numbers. That's a fast-growing sport, man, lacrosse. And right now at Penn State, both the men's and women's programs have it rolling, and it's a great venue. So as we get into the warmer weather now, that's a great opportunity to get out and enjoy an afternoon in Happy Valley. You know, you can get over there. The parking's not too bad. You can walk over to the creamery afterwards. Great chance to experience everything we've got going right here in State College, right? And 100%, I will take all the credit for both of those. Connect Happy Valley will take all the credit. No charge, Pat.
In lacrosse, I saw a lot of tailgates there. I got a lot of pictures from people who were tailgating before and after the event on a beautiful Saturday in Happy Valley with Mount Nittany in the backdrop.
Yes, sir.
Great venue, like you said.
Yeah, heartbreaking end to that Frozen Four game for the women, dropping it in overtime. I do just want to say that team and those seniors in particular are going to be able to look back on their time in Happy Valley and be proud of everything they did and be able to tell themselves and their kids and their grandkids, when I was in college, I helped lay the foundation for a collegiate program at Penn State. So I know in the moment, it's just gut-wrenching to have as good of a season and career as those girls did and to play as hard and as well as they did in that game and come out on the wrong side of it. But every single one of them should walk out of Happy Valley with their heads held high. So I'm super proud of them and proud of the community for coming out to support.
That's great. And then Sunday, I think I saw you at the men's gymnastics.
Yes. Yeah. It was the final home meet. Again, unfortunately, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, Penn State came out just on the other side of Ohio State by a couple of points. But yeah, it was just cool to go out there and see the team compete. And they're really dealing with some injuries right now. But football season's awesome. Obviously, it's my first love. There's no question about it. But there's so much else that goes on throughout the year. And once you start going to these events, a lot of which are free, by the way, you realize that the sports season never stops at Penn State.
Well, in the men's gymnastics meet, in rec hall. Again,
except over the summer, when, of course, we have the spikes, maybe.
But I really enjoyed that men's gymnastics meet. Rec hall, just looking, and I think they honored the 1976 national champions.
Yeah.
The men's were out there.
Yeah, very cool.
But, we saw we saw Casper there, who happens to be
interviewed.
Yeah, I did a podcast on Casper, and his parents came into the United States for the first time for his senior meet from Poland.
That's awesome.
Isn't that amazing? Just what a venue. And to your point, it was free. I mean, just to go in there, walk by the Nittany Lion statue, walk into this venue, 3:00 on a Sunday, free, and just see the enthusiasm and amazing events. I mean, I was really impressed.
Yeah, truth be told, as college football gets more and more professionalized, and every time I say this, I got to add the caveat. It's not that I'm not against the players making money. In fact, I was probably for paying college football players way before it was cool. But what it has turned into is out of control monstrosity with the transfer portal and the unrestrained spending, just the craziness of it all. I find myself and my old school college sports heart, when I need a little comfort food, retreating into these Olympic sports, because the stories of these kids, like Casper's, they're all great. They're great. You get to know the players on those teams. They've just got a more inspiring backstory than, well, Ohio State was offering $12.5 million and Penn State put 13 on the table, right? And they are working just as hard and yet probably still more in it for the love, I guess. And again, I do not begrudge anybody making what the market says they're worth. And what has happened to college football in the last 5 or 6 years is largely the result of the greed, stupidity, short-sightedness, incompetence, and neglect of the people in charge of the NCAA and the leaders of college football for the decades prior. So you reap what you sow. So I am not putting this at the feet of the players. Take what you can get. But it has, in my mind, detracted from the enjoyment a little bit. We have 55 new players on the roster this year that came from all over creation, but mostly from Iowa State. It's fine, but it's not like it was. It's not like, oh, here's a kid who grew up playing high school football, dreaming of playing in college and could have gone anywhere, but chose Penn State, and now he'll be a Nittany Lion for life in all likelihood. That was what distinguished college football from the pros for me and what made it special. And now that's mostly been stripped out of the game. And so I still love Penn State and I still love Beaver Stadium and supporting the Nittany Lions. But a lot of what I loved about the sport has been compromised. And if you want to be able to go back and touch that again and experience that, again, you can walk into a lot of these venues around campus, Jeffrey Field and Panzer Stadium and Rec Hall for free, and it's still right there. It's like you've gone back in time.
Oh, it was great. And Casper, who I've gotten to know, he was in an Australian event in high school, and he met the guy that won the gold medal on the pommel horse from Penn State. What's his name?
Nedorowczyk, yeah.
Yeah, and he said, hey, you should consider Penn State. And that was the spark. And he's just finished 4 years here. He's the captain of the men's gymnastics team. And I've never been to a gymnastics meet since I was an undergrad.
Yeah.
And it's like an Olympic telecast, on the pommel horse and the floor exercises. And it was a very enjoyable hour and a half.
Yeah, it moves. It's not that long. It was a good, lively crowd in there.
Yes.
Rec Hall is like such a fun venue. It's a shame to me that we don't get to play basketball in there more often, right?
Right. And that's what was part of the charm, is just being back in the Rec Hall again.
Speaking of, I do just want to say, I think for the first time in a long time, there's some excitement back in the women's basketball program with Tanisha Wright being hired as the head coach. That's a big splash hire for Pat Kraft in two respects. Obviously, it's Nittany Lion comes home. I love those stories, although it does make me feel a little bit like Methuselah that there are now two coaches who were players when I was in college who are head coaches of their programs now, and Katie Schumacher and Tanisha coming back. So you can just wheel me into the nursing home now, I suppose. But the other thing is she's got championship credentials on her resume. And if somebody is going to come in here and resurrect this program, and we know it can be competitive, we know it can, you do need somebody who has those chops. And so somebody who's won at the highest level, I think, and also understands Penn State is just a perfect fit. So I applaud Pat Kraft for going out there and taking the initiative and probably spending the money that was necessary to make that hire and be serious about a commitment to that program. So that's exciting too.
That's great. But before we jump into what's ahead this weekend, you got to talk about wrestling a little bit. Just give the shout out.
How crazy is it? It is impossible, probably. It's impossible to not be a little spoiled at this point by the unbelievable, in some ways unprecedented levels of success Penn State's having under Cale Sanderson, that here we talked for so long and we didn't even talk about the wrestling team winning Cale's 13th national championship. He's 2 away now from tying Dan Gable. I mean, that is achievable. It's in the sights. And I did an interview last week with Jeff the Ironhead Byers, longtime voice of the wrestling team, future Hall of Famer, for doing so. And I asked him, I said, is Cale motivated by that? Does he think about it? And he said no. And I told him, I said, if that were any other coach, I probably wouldn't believe that answer. But I buy it with Cale. I think he probably doesn't care. And that's probably why he is in the position that he's in, because the dude is just as steady Eddie, commitment to process as you're going to find. And the fact that he is now, for a third consecutive year, the coach of a championship team that set an all-time points record at the tournament and could potentially field a lineup that top to bottom is more competitive than the one he just had, again, for probably like a third or fourth consecutive year, is unbelievable. What we're seeing under Cale Sanderson and Penn State wrestling is one of the greatest dynasties in college and maybe all of American sports. And it's right here in Happy Valley. Very cool.
It is very, very cool. It just reminds me of the John Wooden Pyramid, which I just made a mental note to download today.
Wooden at UCLA is probably the closest comparison. Maybe Gino Auriemma at UConn, Nick Saban at Alabama.
But it seems he's on pace to blow right by those two.
It's going to be really interesting to see starting next season. You saw in this last tournament, David Taylor, Oklahoma State, the former Penn State guy. There's going to be some real intrigue there. The Cowboys are coming, and that's good. I think.
Oh yeah,
iron sharpens iron.
Exactly.
Right? I think Cale is going to be energized by that kind of competition. It's good for Penn State to have somebody creeping up on them.
Have you tried Cale's cookies yet?
I have not.
Full of protein. I'm going to get a pack.
I read the reviews on Onward State, largely positive.
Yes. Okay. Now, what should we do this weekend?
Well, we do a baseball series at Medlar Field. There's a whiteout on Saturday. I do know that.
Oh.
And men's volleyball this weekend as well. But the team's, I think, currently ranked 17th. So maybe not quite where we're used to with the men's volleyball program. But, this teams move around in those rankings. So those are probably the two big highlights. I know there's some men's and women's tennis also going on this weekend. But
that's some world-class tennis, too. I'm glad you mentioned that. I forget that.
You're a big tennis guy.
I know. Beautiful venue over there, you know?
I can't get into tennis. I don't know. I mean, it's no shade on anybody who does that. I can't do what they do. But
what about women's softball? Anything happening there?
Not this weekend.
When's the next home lacrosse for men's?
What a great question. Go check the website.
Okay, and blue white is coming up.
Yes, yeah, April 25th. We still don't know what the format is going to be. As you and I are sitting here recording this, Coach Campbell's going to do his press conference later today. So maybe there'll be more clarity on that at that point.
Okay.
But I'm looking forward to they're actually going to let us come in and watch a whole practice once a week, all throughout the spring. This is unprecedented. I remember all the way back to when Bill O'Brien got here, and we got the first press notice that you were going to be able to come up and watch a little bit of practice, which was astonishing. Because when Joe was here, it was like trying to break into Fort Knox. And so it was like, we're going to get to talk to players. We're going to get to see a little practice. And then James Franklin opened it up a little bit more. And now unprecedented level of access under Matt Campbell. And we just saw James did a full open practice at Virginia Tech to open their spring ball. So I think more and more programs are understanding that there are two ways for this information to get out. They can control the flow of information by allowing the press to have a reasonable amount of access, or they can try to close it off, which will always be unsuccessful. And then whatever leaks out will be totally out of their control. So I think that they've adopted the controlled burn approach. And all of us hashtag content creators who are going to try to find some nonsense to say about our access to these practices where, truth be told, probably more than 50% of us don't understand more than 50% of what's going on most of the time. It's a boon. So we're grateful. Thanks, Matt.
And so, Chris, speaking of football, you're going to be hosting an event at Pine Grove Hall, not this Saturday, next Saturday. Do you have the date on that?
Well, so actually, so this Wednesday, which is the 25th of March, people can come on out free of charge. Just come on out to Pine Grove Hall. It's going to be the first of a series that I am hosting along with Jim Galante, the Keystone Sports Network, from HVU Insider, where we are going to be giving folks a chance to just get to meet up close and personal some of the leaders of Penn State football.
This is next Wednesday.
This is this Wednesday.
Okay.
So this is with the 25th is this week.
It's tomorrow.
March is flying by.
It's
tomorrow as we're recording. Yes, tonight.
Yes, it's
for
Wednesday
watching
tonight.
This from the newsletter.
So what time does that start?
So it starts at 6 o'clock. Doors open at 6. Program starts at 7. And we'll be talking to, this week, a handful of players that we'll just get to hear a little bit about their journey to Penn State, about playing for Matt Campbell, Some guys will have been carryovers from the prior regime, so they can talk about the transition. Others came here from Iowa State and can give us some insight into what this coaching staff is like and what it's been like coming to Penn State. And then afterwards, folks will get an opportunity to, meet and talk with the players a little bit. They want to get a selfie or whatever. That's going to be available to them. And then that's going to be an ongoing series throughout the rest of the offseason. We're going to have players, coaches, staff people. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Wow. So I'll be out there tomorrow night. Is that going to be on the second floor of Pine Grove Hall?
No, it'll be on the first floor.
Oh, first floor.
Yeah. And so people can go to, their website and check out their full schedule of events. They've got great musical acts coming in there all the time. And then in April, I'll be teaching the second and third installments of my Penn State football history course.
And I went to the first one, and I was amazed. You covered from the beginning until 1950.
Yes.
I did not realize we forbid scholarships for a couple decades there.
Yeah, which was pretty common across college football for a period of time. There were a lot of objections, public objections to the excesses of college sports, tantamount to the actual academic missions of the institution, not unlike what many people are maybe feeling these days. And so the decision at that time, faculty held a lot more influence and sway over the directions of colleges and universities back then than they do in modern times. And so the academic argument won out, not just at Penn State, but at schools all over the country. Athletic scholarships were eliminated for a good portion of the time period between, like the Depression and the end of the Second World War.
Your next edition of the Penn State History Football is the Saturday.
Yes, Saturday, April 4th.
It starts at 7 o'clock, I believe.
Yes.
It's a Saturday night, which is great. We normally have these on Wednesday, but it's going to be great. It's on Saturday. So come on out, have a beer, listen to Chris. And you're going to be covering 1950 through
1995.
Oh, the best decades.
No, I'm sorry, 93.
Can't wait. I can't wait till you get into the 80s.
I will make sure I do an extra special good job on the 80s just for you, Greg.
So come on out Saturday, April 4th, have a beer with Chris and the second floor of Pine Grove Hall for that one. Anything else you want to tell the audience?
Well, I will just mention that I've actually got a slide in the deck where I talk about your book, Why Penn State. And so if people are enjoying watching these little video vignettes, although I can't imagine why, if you've gotten this far, you might like a little more of this. You can go to whypennstate.com and buy a copy of Greg's book, which he is too humble to promote himself. So I'll do it for him. It's excellent.
Well, thank you, Chris. Maybe I'll be in the back of the room hawking them after your event.
Please do.
Special
Please
price.
Do. Yeah.
Come on out.
Buchignani discount. I like that.
There you go. Promo code The Booch. Okay. Free shipping.
Go to the baseball games.
Thank you, Chris.